This year's event. Okay, in the meantime, this week's terror attack in Tribeca is not just difficult to comprehend, it's also very difficult for us to deal with mentally and emotionally. It can certainly hurt our sense of safety and make it tough to go about our daily lives. So we've asked our very special guest to join us here tonight to help us cope. This is Dr. Chloe Carmichael, a New York psychologist. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me back,
It's a very emotional story, as you know, and it affects a lot of us. And we'll talk about children, but I want to start with adults first and just the reality of what happened. How do we cope with that?
Well, Ernie, the way that we can cope with the anxiety and the anger and all the different things that this can make us feel is to understand what are the healthy actions that these feelings could be prompting us to take. For example, well, New York City is always encouraging us to get our go bags together, the little bag that has, you know, your flashlight, your change of clothes.
For emergencies.
Exactly, a little cash. So making sure that you have all of that put together can be very helpful. Also maybe prompting you to get together and talk with some friends, join a support group. There's a lot of different healthy self-care behaviors that this can make us take.
Yeah, one of the things is, you know, worrying about yourself, worrying about your family, and that can be an issue, especially, you know, if you have children. And children, you know, have a different perspective, a different viewpoint. So let's talk about, you know, how do you explain to young children something like this?
Well, naturally, it's going to depend, of course, on the age of the child. But the simple truth that children really do have to understand is that there are bad people out there. And so even in very simple terms, to be able to say that, but also to simultaneously promise the child that you have an unwavering commitment to be there for them and to keep them safe. Yeah, you have to give them
that love and hugging, too. They're very physical, as you say, right? They need that.
Exactly. Children are oftentimes what we call pre-verbal, so they're not necessarily able to have a long conversation about it, but they'll respond really well to a hug or the chance to go out and even just run around and experience some of that energy.
Yeah, one of the things that obviously will be happening is kids talking to kids. They do a lot of that, and you know, some of those conversations can be a bit scary, so you can expect a lot of questions from your children about things like this.
Absolutely. Well, I do think it's important for parents to ask the kids, you know, has this been talked about? What have you heard? Because sometimes, just like a rumor mill, what kids might say on a playground, the story can grow. But also teaching kids that this is a time when we can learn how to choose what we're going to focus on. So there are things that we can control and there are things that we cannot control. And teaching children what to focus on can be helpful.
You mentioned support groups. That can be very helpful. There are some people that can just take a walk with a friend, or some people like to read a book or watch a movie or something that's uplifting and helps them to forget, if you will.
Absolutely. Once you've done those steps and you've done all the things that get in your go bag and everything else that you're supposed to do, then absolutely a good book or a movie can be a really good way to just cue yourself to go focus on something else for a little while and unwind.
Yeah. Bottom line, in a nutshell, what should we be doing?
Taking good care of ourselves and our neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and have a good positive attitude about things, right?
Absolutely.
Life will continue.
Of course.
All right, Dr. Chloe Carmichael, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks
for the insight, okay?